everybody. Welcome to the first episode of Wicked Cynical. I'm Wally.
Justin.
And we just saw Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. We just got home about maybe an hour ago or so. So this is pretty much, a lot of this is just coming straight from our heads about this. And we took my 5-year-old son Riley with us. He really loved it.
I am Groot.
He loved Groot. And my general impression was, I know a lot of people online, I was reading different mixed opinions of the trailers. I was really excited for it when I started watching the trailers a few months ago. So I've been really hyped up for this. Star-Lord came out in Marvel Heroes a few days ago. I've pretty much been playing as Star-Lord for 3-4 days now.
And has been giddy the entire time.
I have been giddy about it the entire time. Well, yeah, the elemental gun, which I'm kind of pissed they left out of this movie. The elemental gun is fucking badass.
Well,
and
I see his dad to get the elemental gun.
I'm hoping that's what happens in the sequel.
Well, they set it up for that.
Yeah, well, so we're doing spoilers on this one, just as a brief spoiler alert. And there's really, it's hard to do a real summary because, in a sense, because you follow a lot of storylines sort of coming together very quickly. You get a very brief background at the beginning of Star-Lord going up into space right after his mother dies, and then it picks up like
26 years later.
Yeah, 26, 22, something like that. And he's already sort of struck out on his own from the people, the Ravagers, the people who adopted him, who are led by Merle.
Yondo.
They're led by Merle from The Walking Dead with blue skin, which I thought was kind of funny. And so then he retrieves this container that contains one of the Infinity Stones, and going to Xandar to turn it into a collector, who I assume was a go-between for somebody who was not the collector. He runs into Gamora, who gets sent by Ronan to get the orb, and he also, because Yondo has put a bounty out on Star-Lord, Rocket and Groot go after him. They all get thrown into prison by the Nova Corps. They meet Drax, and then we're pretty much off to the races at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, generally, I thought it was really good.
Oh, yeah.
From the hype and everything, I thought it was fucking great.
Oh, yeah, it was great. I'd personally say it was the second best Marvel movie.
Kind of second best against, now what would
Winter
you say?
Soldier.
Yeah.
That one, just because it was more of a self-contained story, so it was a lot. That makes it better.
Now, when you say best Marvel movie, are we talking this year or
no,
just
of all?
So there you have it. He just said Winter Soldier, best Marvel movie, period. Full disclosure, he's a huge mark for Winter Soldier.
No, I'm not.
It's the only thing you don't have a tap for that's a comic book character. He's missing a Winter Soldier tat, and he's missing a Magneto helmet. He's good. But, yeah, I would say the biggest thing I really loved about it is a thing that I really liked about what they did with Avengers. They did that here, where it actually, for the team up, it actually feels like a team movie. I would say it even feels like more of a team movie than Avengers, because Avengers,
well, yeah,
you had way too much of the build up and the separate divergent operations.
It was everybody
there.
coming together for the end of the movie in Avengers, and this was more of they're all cogs in the machine. They all had their role to play, and that was, they didn't even know what their role was to play until it came to it.
Yeah,
and that's really what made it the full team movie.
Yeah, because it wasn't like the biggest thing I've always criticized the X-Men movies for, which was we throw all the weight behind one or two characters per movie, Wolverine, and make it less of a team movie, make the X-Men feel like less of a team, because you're throwing all of the big dialogue and all of the big fights behind one or two characters, it would be easy to assume, you know, they're going to try to get the best use out of Star-Lord and building up that character. But it's not a Star-Lord movie. And it would be easy, it would have been very easy for them to have done that. But they really kept it at all of them working together, learning to work together, then begrudgingly working together, and then accepting
the fact
working together, and working really well together. And I would say the dialogue was probably some of the best dialogue I've come across in a Marvel movie, probably since Avengers.
Oh yeah, easily.
The conversations were really, really true to the Guardians comics, and I was laughing my ass off at a few different conversations, which, again, I'm having a hard time recalling some of it, but it was just hilarious. The banter back and forth with Star-Lord and Drax was hilarious. Everybody back and forth with Drax was pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
And I love that scene where the first time Nebula shows up, when they get onto Ronan's ship, she has this big, like, you know, this boss battle, like, opener, where she's, like, posing and she's taunting them, and Drax just takes out a rocket launcher and blows her into the next room.
Don't make fun of my friends.
And it was just so unexpected and so hilarious. To talk about some of the characters in particular, I would say the biggest thing I was probably, like, really tense about and really, like, not looking forward to for a long time was when they announced that Batista was going to be Drax. I was really not looking forward to it. I'm like thinking, okay, you're trying to make a Guardians movie, which is, to me, was going to be difficult enough, and to do it right. And then when they announced Batista was like the first big star announcement, I'm like, oh, this movie needs him like it needs a hole in its head. I
remember that.
He's never really broken out as a Hollywood actor from being a professional wrestler, and I thought, in this movie, I was very surprised. I was honestly surprised in a very positive way. I thought he did a really good job, and he really played the character well, but the character is so deadpan and so serious that it seemed to
reason why I always told you he's going to be perfect at the role, because it is perfect for his style, where he doesn't have many real emotions. Batista doesn't, let's be honest.
Yeah, if you watch WWE, if you've seen him cut a promo, we could do a whole wrestling video about Batista on a mic.
Yeah, he doesn't have much depth, but with a character like Drax, he's really built off of being a lot more dense than everybody else. Like, almost everything goes over his head because he's really just emotionless.
Yeah.
All he the only emotion he has to care about is rage. That's why he kills.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, Star-Lord was really funny. He had a lot of good, like, cool, badass moments as well.
And the big thing to me was I thought that Pratt as Star-Lord was going to be a little lackluster to who the character really is in the books and that. But that's just mostly because, like, all the trailers and shit, a lot more comedy-based than anything else. But he wasn't that much more than, say, you know, Tony.
Yeah, I mean, they made very good use of his comedic timing.
Yeah.
And they made very good use of his, he's very much a fish out of water in the movie because he was from Earth, and he's the only Earth-born human Terran in the galaxy in this larger collection of humanoid races and species, and he's very much an awkward fish out of water. And I know some people have said, well, come on, the 80s music is kind of dumb, running all of the
70s and 80s, really. That's the
which
other thing you have to realize is they always said 80s music, but it's 70s and 80s.
And it just, I can understand
really
why some people...
Though.
It really
that's the real thing. And a lot of those scenes when the music kicks on, it's just like, it actually really works well for how they have the whole setup for that scene.
Yeah, and I thought I was still kind of disappointed that they have Spirit in the Sky all over the movie trailers and it doesn't actually show up in the movie. Although really I think it would have been hilarious, although that would be going into early 90s, I think. It would have been hilarious if they put in like Rocket Queen during the shootout or something. For a lot of different reasons, it would have been a hilarious like montage piece.
Well, no, come on. Those two songs are probably on Awesome Mix too.
Yeah. I know a lot of people were saying they thought it was kind of dumb aspect of it, but I thought it fit because you have to consider, well, Star-Lord's a fish out of water.
Yeah,
he's pretty much a loner that gets together with all of these people. I mean, again, Gamora, probably the weakest character in the team, I think. They give her the most backstory. They give her the most backstory. They give her the most connection to the plot because she was adopted by Thanos, which, okay, here's the thing. Gamora, her parents are killed in front of her by Thanos. She's then taken away and tortured and enhanced and trained to be his adopted daughter alongside Nebula. They're then sent to be, backup for Ronan because Thanos tells Ronan, you bring me the gem and I'll destroy Xandar.
Yeah.
He doesn't tell Ronan it's the gem, and as soon as Ronan finds out it's an Infinity Stone, pop, throws the son of a bitch in his hammer, and he's going, well, fuck you, Thanos, I'm gonna go do this on my own now, I don't need you.
And then I'm gonna come and kill you.
Yeah, and am I the only one who was thinking that, like, Gamora, I was getting way too much of a Mortal Kombat vibe from that whole backstory with Gamora and Nebula and Thanos. It's like, this could have been very easily...
Definitely had that feel.
This could have been very easily like Katana running into the Defenders of Earth in Mortal Kombat and saying, we need to go take down Melina and Shao Kahn and Shang Tsung. Yeah. Which you could just call Ronan, he's Shang Tsung for all intents and purposes in that plot if this was being traced over to Mortal Kombat. I got way too much of that kind of similar origin vibe from it, but again, she was very stiff in the film. Like, just a lot of her acting was very stiff, I thought.
Well, and part of that is, yes, the character is supposed to be stiff because of the whole fact of her history and her parents got killed and she was turned into a living weapon and yada yada yada. Okay, that's understandable, but it's also only to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And the extent that Gamora actually is well and over what it should have been. That was part of the problem, and in all honesty, she really was the weakest part of the whole story because of that.
She was there to kick Nebula's ass and really nothing much else. And then Nebula...
there to kick Nebula's ass and to have the connection to Ronan and Thanos.
Yeah. Which Ronan, I thought he was... We'll get back to Rocket and Groot in a minute, but Ronan, I thought the beginning introduction of him was really good. That scene where he kills the Nova Corps member,
that was awesome.
Executes him and says, "I'm not gonna attack Xandar. I'm going to cure it," and he just hammers him over the head. Which again,
and then
there were so many scenes. So many scenes made me wish this was like an R-rated movie.
Yeah.
There were so many cutaways that made me wish this was an R-rated movie that you could have just actually seen it. But then again, I'm sure a lot of people would think that kind of execution scene, they would have just been getting bludgeoned over the head with something that was just going to be disgusting to watch for a lot of people. And again, with characters like Star-Lord, Rocket, and Groot, they really wanted to sell this movie to kids.
Yeah, they wanted it to be the most family-friendly movie that Marvel has done.
Yeah. And I think Rocket and Groot were really well done.
Oh, they were. And that was another thing that I said. Based off the trailers, I thought Bradley Cooper doing that voice for Rocket was... I was going to hate it by the end. I was just going to hate it. But I actually grew to like it really well. He did a really well job with it. And it's really just surprising to me because that's not really how I ever thought Rocket would sound when I was reading the books.
Yeah, and again, these are characters. It's interesting because again, these are characters that a lot of people who don't read the comics have a very warm and fuzzy real knowledge of who the characters are. Like, if you played the Ultimate expansion to Marvel vs. Cap 3 that they put Rocket in and Nova, then maybe you know who they are.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you know who Rocket Raccoon is. If you played Marvel Heroes online, then you know who Rocket Raccoon and Groot are.
Yeah.
So their character, and they were put in the Lego game. And as I think they were a DLC or something. Or no, they're unlockable. They're not a DLC. They just, in the Lego movie, they just sort of show up after you beat Lego Galactus, and they're like, hey, did we miss anything? They just sort of land in their spaceship right in front of S.H.I.E.L.D. and they're like, hey, what's up? Did we miss anything? Which, again, I would actually think I think it'll be kind of funny. That's how I think they should be in Avengers 3, is just after the Avengers fight Thanos, the Guardians should just show up and be like, so, we miss anything?
Yeah, that'd be great. But besides those couple things, the only other things that anybody would really know them from is if they watch the Ultimate Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Or Avengers Assembled episodes that had them in there, and in all honesty, those were very, very crappy episodes for those characters. The introduction of them.
I would say Avengers Assembled was very mediocre compared to World's Mightiest Heroes anyway. But
well, yeah,
that's besides
it really
the point.
is.
I mean, we could do a whole video comparing those two series.
Yeah.
It's a whole nother story. I mean, but again, so they really wanted to push these characters, and I think they gave all of them so much screen time, and the way they were used, I think the characters were pushed very well. And Groot had a lot of badass effect scenes.
Oh yeah, he did.
And just swinging shit around, and it's like
when he speared the five
spears
guys.
like 5 guys and just swings them around, and it's like
and then just turns around and smiles at Drax and Star-Lord, and they're both just like, awesome, man.
I kind of almost got like a very like PG Deadpool vibe from Star-Lord. Like he was mouthy, but not the whole black comedy sadistic elements of a character. The way they wrote him in this one, it's like he's a smart aleck. Like he's basically like you take him from Earth, and he's basically like an intergalactic Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
Like the way he just sort of mouths off, but they did it very well. I mean, a lot of the effect scenes were really good. The battle scene at the end, I thought, was amazing. The way they did, like, the defense of Xandar kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I still do not understand. I didn't understand this when they've shown ships like this in Marvel movies before. I do not understand how you make intergalactic space shuttles out of rock. How they're all stone interior. I just don't understand that.
Alien tech, dude.
I don't. Maybe they're going for some kind of like alien, like Geiger kind of design to a lot of the atmosphere, but I just don't understand that. Yeah. I don't understand how Ronan's ship appears to have like all stone interiors. But probably would be remiss to not talk about the big deal in this movie, which was you got a full body shot of Thanos. And I'm saying that is the summary. You got a full body shot of Thanos.
And about 2 sentences.
Yeah. Which this is official though. This was Brolin. Like this is official.
Yeah, it's officially Brolin. That's what I was about to say is, and surprise, surprise, he actually wasn't horrible.
Yeah. I mean,
granted, you only get 2 lines.
Yeah,
but
you don't get a really good sell of it. You don't get too. They don't put him in there very long enough. I would say. I know they want to be
tease.
like. I know
just
they want to tease it. Yeah, they want to tease it, and I know that's what they want to do. But at the same time, it's like I wish they gave him like at least a few more minutes, like let the audience take it in a little bit more. And at least I think if they had done that, it would have probably sold me a little more on it. But at the point of seeing like, here's how the armor looks, which is, again, I like the design. I like that instead of Thanos wearing a blue and yellow like bodysuit, he's actually wearing like this gold-plated armor. That was very cool. And overall, I would say I was very impressed with the full body design. I'm like, okay, that's Thanos. It qualifies. Until I see more of it. It qualifies. It's Thanos. Anybody who had worries about it can stop worrying. They created the character perfectly. He qualifies.
Yeah, but then the downside is we're still not really going to see much more than this in any movie until he fully shows up.
Yeah. So that's Thanos, essentially, in a nutshell. And I mean, that was the biggest deal, I think, and that's the thing that I think brought a lot of people in, was they wanted to see, well, okay, we're going to see more of them. What the hell are they going to show for him?
Yeah.
And again, going back to Ronan, so we sort of went back and forth on Ronan.
See, now Ronan, my big problem with how they did him is, he had a couple good scenes, but overall, what they did with him was really a letdown, in my opinion, based off of everything they could have done with him.
He was in the movie about as much as Malekith was in Thor 2, but he had some better scenes than Malekith.
Don't get me started on Malekith.
Well, we all know, like, really, Malekith was like...
That was the biggest letdown of a villain yet, and I'm including that against Crimson Dynamo.
That was the biggest letdown for Chris Eccleston, and he played Destro. So, but Ronan, I liked how they made him look. I thought the suit and everything, and the paint there was really effective.
I didn't like the paint, though. I thought it made him look more of a joke.
I think they were trying to incorporate the facial features into his design, but without having it be like he has awkward patches of like black skin. So it was probably like he was.
Yeah, but then you compare it to somebody like Nebula.
Yeah,
would it really have been that awkward though?
Oh yeah, because she had the purple and blue against it and everything, and
half cybernetic.
And it's like, because basically the whole thing with Ronan, which they didn't get deep enough into, which I wish they would have if they really want to continue to push the Kree as adversaries, which again I don't see how they can, because you kind of gave Ronan a pretty final statement at the end of the movie, which I was not agreeing with. He's just going to
show up in the negative zone only. They're going to have changed the name. It's no longer the negative zone because they don't own the rights to that. So he's just going to show up in the other universe.
Yeah. Well, no. Maybe they'll do it something like the Thanos Imperative, and he'll show up in the Cancerverse. He'll show up in the Dead universe. I don't know. There's got to be some way. I want them to do more with Ronan, so I hope they bring back Ronan somehow.
Well, yeah, and that's part of what I mean by it was really a letdown with what they did with Ronan. Yeah, you want to have that big scene at the end, and the scene was awesome.
Yeah,
it was, but you barely touched on everything you could do with Ronan, and then you just kind of wipe him off to the side.
Well, yeah, because
we're gonna move on to somebody else now.
Yeah, because he's sort of introduced as, the Nova Corps of Xandar have signed a peace treaty with the Kree because fuck it, we don't know why. Because plot element. And
plot element for the future.
Yeah, because why not sign a peace treaty? And then, but Ronan's doing his thing, and Ronan's sanctioned to conduct essentially a genocide against the Nova Corps, regardless.
He's sanctioned to commit genocide on the Xandarians because of thousands of years old Kree traditions.
Yeah.
that he feels the Kree government right now is not following through with by signing the treaty. So fuck them.
Yeah, and it's so they don't. He doesn't actually. They call him the Accuser, but he's not technically. He doesn't have the formal title. He's not technically
being a Kree accuser in stature.
Yeah.
He's being it by name.
He's not formally the Grand Accuser of the Kree Empire.
Yeah, he's more doing it in the aspect of in tradition.
Yeah, so it was, again, they were sort of half-half on Ronan, but as a villain for this, I thought he really worked well. I thought they did a really decent job with him.
Well, yeah, no, that's the thing. How they used him was great for what they were doing. It's just he's kind of a letdown because you could have did much deeper of a story with it.
Yeah,
and came back and build upon it with the sequel and
I think it was. I think a lot of that in the name was let's get this done and get it in at around 2 hours, which the movie did not really need to be longer than 2 hours for what they were doing. I think and this is another movie that I think breaks the trend of what was an ongoing trend until I saw Iron Man in 2007, which was origin movies always suck.
Yeah,
always suck. I think Batman Begins was the only origin movie I saw before Iron Man that didn't suck. Most of the Marvel
half the reason you like that was just because of Roz.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
I sat there and dealt with all my other problems with Batman Begins, but that's a flashback episode. But overall, I would say I was really impressed with it. For a new property from Marvel that most people don't have a lot of exposure or familiarity with, I thought they did a really great job with it.
Oh yeah, based off what they did, yeah, I think it's going to be exactly what some people were guessing that it would be, the next big property for them following along the lines of Avengers. You can spin off how many space-related series with this?
They want to launch a Nova movie off of this, and
let's hope they do Rider. Otherwise, that movie's just gonna blow because nobody even likes Sam Alexander except for Loeb because he based it off of his dead son.
I take no responsibility for anybody who feels that was an insensitive comment.
Well, hey, just because he lost his son and wanted to base a character off him doesn't mean that he has to erase a good character that everybody likes to do it. That's the only thing I'm saying. You could have just created him and he's another member of the Nova Corps. No, Ryder's gone. We're not going to bring Ryder back because, well, we got Sam Alexander.
Yeah.
And nobody likes, and almost nobody likes the character, though, is the thing.
Do we want to talk about the end credit scene? I think we do. Like I said, they clearly want to launch a lot of properties off of this movie. I really hope Howard the Duck is not one of them.
If they get enough people interested in it after that, seeing that, they're gonna. I guarantee, give it another 4 months, and he's gonna have a new ongoing in the books.
I would say give it 4 to 6 months. We're going to have a new Howard the Duck ongoing title in Marvel now.
And if that does good, then they're doing a movie. You know it.
Yeah. Which, again, hopefully, if they try to do that, maybe it's better than the 90s movie. At least he is... I would 80s. I at least find it funny that he ended up in the collector's collection.
Yeah.
Because really... I think everybody would prefer Howard the Duck was isolated and cut off from the rest of existence shoved in a glass container.
Again, the only thing I can really say about how they did Howard the Duck is at least this time he actually looked like he did in the book.
Yeah, he didn't look like a little rotund egg with a head on it. I mean, that was an awful puppet.
Yeah.
And you really would have thought, didn't Lucas have something to do with the original? Yeah, you would have thought they could have done a better puppet.
Yeah, Howard the Duck was George Lucas's baby.
Imagine if George Lucas tried to do Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, God.
Rocket Raccoon probably would have been like a Silicious Crumb there, the little dude on Jabba's tail.
I thought you were going to say he was going to be more like Jar Jar.
I don't know. I think if George Lucas had done Guardians, you probably would have had him come back with whoever did the dub for Jabba the Hutt voicing Groot. Which actually, no, that doesn't sound too bad. I got nothing for that. I thought I was really setting up for a good insult, but I got nothing for that. That actually, I think I talked myself into something that sounds half decent.
No, you didn't.
No, the Jabba pitch would have fit Groot.
Oh, you said Jabba.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Jabba.
Sorry, for a second.
No, not Jar Jar.
For a second, I thought you said Jar Jar. That's
probably
wait,
you're like rolling your eyes. I'm like, no, I think Lucas probably would have gotten the guy who did Jabba the Hutt, and then I'm like, no, I don't have a joke. I don't know, but I don't have a joke for that. That actually sounds like a pretty cool idea.
Yeah.
But I just inadvertently talked myself into that. But
then again, the one thing that I'm surprised that they didn't show it at all in the collector's collection this time around was what they was Warlock's cocoon like they did.
It probably hatches because of the gem exploding.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That wouldn't surprise me. And then Cosmo, that was pretty funny.
And that's probably how they're gonna get to Cosmo gets his teak powers.
Yeah, and I think so Collector lost his whole collection, and that was pretty much it for Benicio del Toro. Which again,
they'll bring him back.
I'm still not a fan of it. I'm just not.
No,
I don't like the Collector. I think he's a stupid plot element in all of this. It makes no sense to give him the gems, because if Thanos finds out that he has the gems, he will just go there and break his neck, and then that's it.
But the Collector is an elder.
I really don't think he could fight Thanos the way they're setting him up in these movies. I think Thanos would wipe the floor with him. I mean, I like how they did Nowhere, though. The design was kind of blurry when I saw some early pictures of it, but
I didn't like the design because basically because they made it more rotting.
Well, there's also that really cool scene where the Collector does show the, plot giveaway of the gems, and it finally explains the Infinity Gems, and you do see the gigantic Celestial with the Warhammer destroying a planet.
Yeah,
the Judge shows up, so that was really cool. For about 5 seconds, you get a really nice shot of the Judge Celestial.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the biggest surprises to me, that they actually showed a live Celestial in the film. Granted, it's a re-roll of past events, but still.
I mean, you're clearly given an impression with Nowhere that it's almost like they're kind of giving the impression that the Celestials have kind of left the universe, or they've died off, or they've just sort of disappeared. So they're sort of that mysterious, ancient race.
Well, yeah, but they've always been more so of that in the book, where they're never really there except for you see a couple of them.
We also did get that nice drunk moment with Rocket.
That was something that I was going to bring up. That I thought was a really good moment for the back and forth between Rocket and Drax.
Yeah. And I did like some of the dialogue with Rocket. Rocket was consistently funny, and he was consistently very witty, and they made you laugh when you weren't expecting to laugh. You don't know that the whole setup when they're escaping the kiln is a joke, where Star-Lord gets a cybernetic leg, shows up with it, and he's like, well, here it is, and Rocket's like, oh, I don't need this thing.
I didn't really need it.
Was it funny, though, seeing the guy hobble around without it? And I'm like,
and then going into the final battle. Oh, and I'm going to need that cybernetic eye. No, he's not going to need your eye. Yeah, I really need that eye.
It was really good like that, and it's this is like I said, if you want to see an actual team movie that actually works as a team, this is really good. I mean, my final thoughts on it would be, I had a certain level of expectations from the trailers, and still going into it with an open mind, not really 100% knowing what I was getting. I still say, going back to the expectations I had from the trailers, I would say it did at least, it met and exceeded a lot of my expectations for the trailers.
Oh yeah, see, it exceeded my expectations after seeing the trailers. I wanted to see the movie more than anything when they announced it, and then I saw the trailers and I thought I was gonna hate a lot of it.
Yeah, because I know there've been some people, and you hear a lot of people that were saying about the trailers, well, there's too much humor, and there's too much shoot 'em up in the trailers. You don't see a lot of development or introduction for the characters. But I think the trailers really hooked a lot of people in, and I think they're going to have a really good return on the movie to justify that.
Oh yeah, I think they're, like I said, I think they're going to have a great return on the movie, and I think by the time that they come around with the sequel in 2 years, or 3 years, that you're going to have even more people going there on opening weekend. You're gonna, and it really is going to be the official launch of a new franchise series.
So
let's call it.
Yeah, and I think the third
where
one,
you can spin 12 different things.
Same year as Avengers 3, so it'll either be the final.
No, it comes the year before.
Oh, the year before. Okay, so it'll be probably one of the final setups for Avengers 3. But final score, I'm gonna go with. I had a rough idea, but now the more I think about it, I'm going to be even a little bit more generous, and I'm going to give it a solid 9 out of 10. Probably one of the best Marvel movies I've ever seen, period, in a long time. And some of the best work they've put into launching a new film down the pipe in a long time. It's very solid. It blew me away, so I'm going to stick with that and give it a solid 9 out of 10 on that one.
See, now, I agree with most of what you said, but I say it's more about an 8.5 at best if you want to get into the half percentages. And
so we'll meet in the middle and say it's an 8 average. It's an 8.5 out of 10 between the two of us. So it's great, and I thoroughly recommend it.
Oh yeah, it's one of the few that I'd recommend to almost anybody. Not just a comic book fan or a comic movie fan or anything.
Exactly.
Just a general fan of good movies.
So that'll do it for Guardians. So like, comment, subscribe, and follow at least me on Twitter. He's not on Twitter, but follow me on Twitter.
Yeah.
So, and we'll see you next week, with or without Justin. Well, he'll definitely be back for Expendables 3 and for Sin City 2 later this month. But next week, I'm going to be probably going to have to break out the booze and the pizza, because...
Well, yeah, you can't forget the pizza after seeing that.
Turtle power. Next week is Ninja Turtles. Pray for me on Friday. Bye, everybody.
We're out.